workshop, crushing Web3 events. As I was saying, what does that mean? Is in this workshop, we'll cover kind of a guide on helping you getting actual value from the events, saving you a bit of time during these events so you know what to do immediately when you come to events, not only for the Breakpoint in this case, but any other event that you might want to attend later on. Framework for building quite interesting connections and how to actually nurture these types of connections with people there, and a realistic view of how Web3 networking actually works, since it's a bit different than anything else. Why does this matter? Because most people go to events unprepared, meaning that if you do something differently, you stand out. Most attendees don't know how to talk to strangers because people think that everyone's shy. Nobody is actually as out front towards meeting new people immediately and just approaching people randomly and saying, hey, what do you do and who you are. People forget faces and names fast, so there is a system that you might use to remember the people you've met. Opportunities come from clarity, not from luck. We'll cover that as well. And once you understand the event psychology, you stand out immediately. And this is what we will cover today. Disclaimer. This is the biggest disclaimer I have given so far. And what does this mean? This is based on personal experience alone. This means that the things that we are covering in this workshop are based on my experience, based on the experience of my friends and people that I know in the space. Certain things that I mention in this workshop, I don't even do myself. So this is kind of a bit of a reminder as well for me to think about these things during the event. And I will totally call myself out for things that I don't do here, but this is why we are here, for everyone to learn. And this is why we are here, for you guys to stand out and for me to say, okay, that guy watched the workshop and I totally forgot to do this at this event, right? Okay, enough of the introduction. Let's jump immediately towards the first point. Why Web3 events matter. So what is it? What is this? What does this say? It's the fastest way to build trust in Web3. That's by far the fact. And meeting people in person is much, much better than meeting people online through DMs and through TG. It's much, much easier to establish a connection with people that met you somewhere and that can actually put that handle to a name and remember where kind of you hang out or chatted about and things like that. And while we are on top of that, is if you have a handle on Telegram or Twitter when you connect with people and your handle is a sausage and a combination of word, letters, and symbols that have no meaning, then you haven't watched our previous workshops, right? And that's definitely workshop number 1. So as I said, these things stack one on top of another, and every workshop before this one matters to make this one even better. So if you're preparing for Breakpoint, watch all of the workshops and get ready. And trust me, you will be definitely extremely happy that you did that. Again, a place where people are open for conversations, meaning at events in Web3, people really want to chat with other people. This is an extremely small industry, fast-growing industry, so it's quite hard to meet people around the world like that, where everyone's kind of exactly at the same spot at the same time, since it's still not, as I would say, popular as other IT events out there in the industry and around the world. It's a shortcut to meeting the people that you always wanted to meet, to connect with other companies and teams that you never had the opportunity, or perhaps that have never replied to your DMs or messages. And a rare chance to get noticed by those individuals and teams, meaning you have to stand out a bit. Why it works? Well, Web3 is remote and it's anonymous. So real-life events like these cut down the noise and the doubt that you might not be who you say you are. And it's a great way to kind of verify your expertise, knowledge, and who you are to those individuals that meet you. People trust faces more than usernames, as mentioned previously, and a short talk in person carries more weight than months of chatter online. That's just facts. And in the end, of course, you build a real memory. You always have a common connection, a common thing that you can chat about, a door opener for later, and so on and so on. Key point: meeting people in person cuts through the noise of Web3 and opens doors fast. Just facts. Next one: preparing before the event. Okay, this one is kind of now already touching the spices of this workshop. What is it? Researching booths, projects, speakers, knowing who you talk with, who you talk about, having simple intros about yourself, about the company that you work for, project that you are working for, setting goals on what you want to achieve on that event. It's always different based on what you do in the industry, who you are, and what you want to achieve. So going there saying, oh, I want to get hired by someone at the event is a goal, but to actually achieve that goal and maximize the chances of it, you do need to come prepared. For example, in this case, if you're searching for a job at the event, it would be quite cool to have one pager or a CV ready about yourself, and when you connect with someone, just shoot it their way or chat, oh, I'm here searching for a new role in the space. And if they say, hey, what do you do? Maybe we have an opportunity for you. Immediately shooting that CV out there makes your life much, much easier, because that individual will definitely remember you because they will see you came prepared. So things like that actually matter a lot more than you think. Preparations make conversations smooth. So you don't freeze when you approach people, you don't freeze when you approach projects. People respect you more when kind of you're ready, when you're not caught off guard, when you did a bit of research about other stuff, and when it actually shows that you came to the event a bit prepared, because nobody's gonna say, oh, this guy came prepared to the event, he or she sucks because of that. That's definitely not the case. It will just be a huge plus for you, where you actually thought it through and had a bit of time to do your thing for the preparation, right? And of course, you save time and avoid certain mistakes. For example, if you're a content creator or things like that, having multiple scenarios on what can happen at breakpoint, or adjusting questions based on the mood, the atmosphere, the people, the setup, the perhaps it's crowded. It's impossible to kind of record something that looks good. So have a scenario for that. What type of content are you going to post at breakpoint? What do you think works best? Have you researched the previous breakpoint and content that was done by that? What performed the best? These types of things really matter a lot more than you think. And there isn't like the thing of being over prepared for this. And if you're thinking about it, maybe not for breakpoint next week, but for future events, definitely worth the investment and the preparation to go to these things and meet people. I'm honestly extremely angry at myself because I didn't spend my money when I was kind of a bit cheaper and a bit broke on more of these events, since I believe it would help me a lot more to get to where I am right now. So if you're thinking about it and maybe debating should I do it or not, I would personally tell you, do it. It definitely is worth, but come prepared and with a goal that you want to achieve. If you just come out there like randomly and kind of say, oh, Lady Luck will strike me and I'll get a chance for something, maybe not the best case scenario on what you should do. Key point: if you prepare even a little, every conversation and opportunity becomes easier. Next thing. Okay, so now we're going into how we are approaching people at the booths and how you're approaching people out there in the event. And I've seen this throughout the years and throughout the events with people where they are hesitant to approach a specific company, a booth, or you're kind of a bit shy, or maybe it's not really the most interesting thing for you because, oh, this project is not interesting for me, even though you might have not talked with the people. looking at it from both ways, like the project might not be something that you're interested in, right? But the individuals that are on the booth, and perhaps a lot of other people think that it's not interesting as a project, and everyone goes for the big players out there and try to kind of get their attention. But smaller teams and smaller booths don't get so much love. And it's much easier then to create a connection and a bond with them. And they will be more than happy to chat with you and to kind of be more approachable, because they want to kind of also use the most of their time and effort for the event. So approaching to the booth with context, with a plan, with knowing what that booth, what that company, what that team does. It's really, really, really important. Small teams and even big teams in certain cases, but I would say kind of small to mid teams really, really appreciate when you come to their booth and you know what their company does, even though you've read it a minute ago. And then if you ask actually a quality question, like, for example, in Solflare's case, let's use it like that. Oh, I use your wallet a lot. Have you thought about adding this feature to your wallet, since I've seen it on other wallets and I think it would be quite cool, and maybe I would use your wallet more because of that. Have you thought about it? And stuff like that. It showcases that you understand what they do, that you understand what the company is about, and it shows that you are actually invested in that conversation, rather than coming into Solflare booth with which, again, kind of, it's completely fine if you don't know things and you haven't come there with a goal to kind of impress someone. There are individuals who come just to farm merch, which is again fine. But on the other hand, if you approach and go to the main booth and the main stage or whoever, and then approach the main sponsor, in this case, for example, Solflare, and ask, and what do you guys do? And I've been in this industry for like 3 years on Solana. Then not really, right? It doesn't show that you have, maybe you are in the industry for the past 3 years, but not the best effort from your end, right? Oh, I see a comment. What's booths? It's like a stand, like a merch shop, like those kiosk or whatever you want to call it, where people present their products and projects. So that's the answer to that questions. Why does this work? Why does it work that you kind of approach different booths and different teams? Is a lot of those teams get bombarded with the same questions on daily basis. So if you're approaching them and you have a specific question that's a bit different, they will be extremely happy to hear that question because they can give a different answer. If you have to answer the same question 100 times a day, then you are not really the happiest person at the end of that day, because you're just repeating yourself and it's not really as interesting for you there if you're a person at the booth, right? But when someone comes in and asks a really good question, it opens up the individual there that's presenting the product, and they are more than happy to go into a bit more and a bit longer conversation and a bit in-depth conversation, because they wanna learn a bit about you and kind of perhaps spend a bit of time with someone who could spark a more interesting conversation. Let's call it like that. What else? Yeah, small teams. People at these types of events kind of mingle around these small teams and kind of run away from them, and as I said, go to the big booths. But showing love to these types of projects, it will open a lot of doors, and these are the individuals that you want to have in your contacts, because everyone's grinding. You are grinding yourself, so they know the grind. They have a bit more time to perhaps help, to do a certain collab, to give you an opportunity on certain things, and they are a lot more flexible than bigger teams. Bigger teams have rules. For example, like at Solflare, there are certain rules on what we can do, on how we can help out people, on who needs to approve that, and then you need another approval, and kind of it gets worse and worse the bigger the company is. But if it's a team of 10 individuals and there is like the three main ones are there at the conference, they can immediately make the decision at the event and perhaps give you an answer on or an opportunity that you have been looking for. But this is why it's important not not to only come always with the basic questions. Hey, what do you guys do? And trust me, if you ask a question above that basic level, it will be a lot more interesting for both parties. Key point: knowing who you're talking to makes teams actually want to talk with. Knowing who you are talking to makes teams actually want to talk with you. Meaning that if you know them, they will try to remember you. This is a bit kind of weird sentence, so I'll admit that. Okay, how to approach people. So we've covered the booth and kind of the teams, but there is also this, I would say, a barrier of individuals just kind of approaching other individuals at conferences, and perhaps those individuals are already in a conversation or they're kind of standing with someone, and it kind of it feels weird. I'll say it like that. It feels weird just jumping into someone and saying, "Hey, guys, what do you do? How are you feeling?" and so on and so on. Do you work for this company, that company? And in this way, you don't have this element of kind of asking the right question immediately from the get-go. You need to break the ice, and it sucks. It sucks if you're just starting to do that. It sucks if you're not extremely extroverted person. It sucks if you don't have if you have shame. Yeah, if you're kind of a bit a quiet individual, but every practice makes perfection. Kind of just practice these things out. After a couple of these types of conversations where you force yourself, I would even say like 3 or 4, after that it just goes smoothly, and approaching others at the event it's super easy. So what do you need to do what is it? Simple conversation openers. Think about them. Kind of how would you approach someone? What would you like when someone approaches you? On how would that be interesting to you? Maybe reverse it then to someone else. Reading the room and timing. If you see that someone is extremely in already like a conversation and they are kind of going on between themselves, don't just jump in. Maybe just stand and kind of wait a bit and say, "Oh, that's an interesting conversation. Do you mind if I jump in and listen?" And nobody's gonna say no. Knowing when to exit politely, also kind of quite an interesting skill. Maybe not to go into the depths of talking for an hour. You want to utilize your time the most, right? And you want to allow these individuals as well to make the most out of the event. And why it works is people expect strangers to talk on events. So if you go on an event, you expect to meet strangers. Otherwise, why would you be going on an event? So don't be embarrassed to kind of just start chatting with someone random that you've seen. Maybe you just say, "Oh, cool sneakers," or whatever, "cool shoes," and start the conversation around that. Smooth as it exits. Keep the interactions comfortable. So like knowing when to say, "Hey, okay, I've spent more than enough of your time. I'll let you be. Hopefully we'll run into each other a bit later and chat again." And then you kind of left the door open and you can respark that conversation a bit better. You avoid awkwardness and keep the energy positive. So that's kind of on the side of how would I call it and how would I frame it nicely is if you approach someone and you are kind of extremely closed up on it from the get-go, and then you kind of are not sure on how to start this conversation and how to get the ball rolling, people will kind of be a bit then reluctant towards continuing that conversation and would like to maybe perhaps close it a bit faster. But this is why I say try different tactics, see what makes you comfortable, see what makes you happy, stay positive always. And of course, I would say even stay honest as well, and say maybe a great conversation starter for you when approaching people is, "Hey, I suck at meeting new people." And this is the only sentence that I could form where there is a conversation starter and you immediately know from start that I suck at this. "Hey, my name is Maki, by the way." That's, I think, a great conversation starter, and it breaks the ice quite fast with a bit of humor, but also honesty. So if nothing better comes to your mind, feel free to use this conversation starter from my end. As I said, I'll judge myself on these types of things throughout the presentation. Reading the room and exiting politely, or kind of knowing when to shut up. I'm not really the best at that, and I think the community already knows that. I can talk a lot, as we can see already. So I do need to keep working on that when it comes to meeting people at events, letting them talk a bit more and letting them share their thoughts, and knowing when to say, okay, maybe moving on, Maki, to another conversation. Don't make people fall asleep, and so on and so on. Okay. Key point: talking to strangers becomes simple when you use a few easy habits, or in this case, hacks, right? Okay, now the cool things, and as you already know, psychological techniques or psychology tricks or hacks or however you want to call them are something that's quite interesting in these types of situations. That if you are kind of a bit anxious, then there are a few steps that you can do, a few tricks that will help kind of bring your mood up, and that will help you manage your events attendance in a much more positive way, right? So what is it? Mirroring body language. That's, I think everyone has read that somewhere on how to, if you're a guy, you've definitely read that on how to charm girls or stuff like that. And you also said it doesn't work, but it does work. It does work in simple things, and it does work bit by bit, as I always say, 1% at a time. So mirroring body language makes people feel more comfortable in a space, and it showcases a bit more connection to the person that you're chatting with. Repeating names after they say it. So if you're meeting someone and they say, "Hey, my name is John," and then you do, "Hey, John, my name is Maki," it actually is a two-way trigger, meaning that you have acknowledged the person and their name, and you are also triggering your brain into kind of higher chances of remembering the name of the individual that you're chatting with. And I'm 100% sure it happens to everyone, where you just met someone, he said the name, and immediately after he said it, you forgot it. So having this habit or this trick where you repeat the name immediately, as I said, "Hey John, my name is Maki," helps you remember it and helps them feel more appreciated and heard. That's a quite cool and interesting trick, and I do encourage everyone to do that, and I need to remember that as well, and use that a lot more. And when you do that, when you remember someone's name, and for example, someone has extremely hard name to pronounce, that's not really your native language, and you kind of struggle with that, it's also quite cool to repeat the name to the person. So, and then you say, "Am I pronouncing it right? Is this good? I don't want to can you help me?" And so on and so on. That way you show respect as well to that individual that you're chatting with. Conversation stacking. So this is kind of keeping topics ready, meaning that there is no awkward silence in a way when you're chatting with someone. And if you want to continue chatting with them, it's always good to have a few tricks up your sleeve when it comes to topics, where if you see that conversation kind of becomes boring and you wish to continue on that conversation, to pull that ace from the ace from the sleeve and shoot and move the topic a bit to a different thing. So why it works, as we said, it helps you build connections, helps you feel more confident, and helps others remember you. There is also one quite interesting and cool trick that I didn't write there, which is chewing gum, bubble gum. And what does that mean? And if you don't trust me, feel free to Google that as well. Chewing gum actually makes you more approachable, and it actually makes you seem as a more approachable and a nicer person, which I don't know why. It just is like that. So if you have a gum at the event, maybe not chewing it but having it and casually chewing the gum at the event is also a small psychological trick that might help you establish a better connection with someone and give you a bit of an edge on that. This is all like I'm teaching you while I'm saying these things, I have a feeling that I'm teaching you like some unethical stuff, but this is all completely ethical, just so we are clear. And this is all cool to do, and I don't think anyone would be angry because you kind of prepared for these things and went into it with the possibility of getting as much as you can from the conversations and the events. Okay, key point. Small psychological tricks help people feel comfortable and remember you, and that's the goal. And I don't think that anyone would be offended if you use these small tricks to help yourself, to help them, to have a nicer conversation, and to establish a better connection. And that's just, I think, that's how it is. Acting like a professional. Okay, this one's kind of can go both ways. This is one of those topics where I said, like, maybe I'm not the best person to go into this, but I'll still say it since it has to be said. Staying in control of your behavior. So controlling your emotions, controlling how you behave, how you talk, how you, I don't know, I'll go to the extremes on how you eat, boundaries with people, respecting everyone in a conversation, remaining calm even in a debates, for example. So these types of things are crucial if you wish to present yourself in the best light possible. What does that also mean? Like, not getting wasted and drunk and then puking 30 minutes after you started a conversation with someone about hiring you, right? And then you start puking next to that person. Not really the best representation of yourself. From 2 points, maybe you can't stand alcohol, and on the other hand, that's not how the professional should act. And also kind of people want that balanced energy and want to kind of see that you have that in you, that you are a professional. Once you establish that connection, or perhaps you've been to multiple events where people already know you and they kind of know what to expect from you and they know what you do, who you are, that kind of quite helps. And then you can kind of be more relaxed. Then you can kind of get a bit drunk or things like. I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying like hypothetically, not from personal experience, but overall. Then maybe you can kind of be a bit more casual and on a party get a bit drunk, a few and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that's how things are, but then I would say it's a bit more cooler rather than you just joined the event, you don't know a lot of people, you want to make good first impression, and then immediately from the get-go, you wake up in the morning alone in a bush or wherever. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Key point. How you behave at events decides whether people trust you or avoid you. And this is kind of on the first impression side, rather than if you already know a good amount of people there and you have certain, I would say, credibility or respect of the overall crowd at the event. But I would say even in all cases, everyone should remain professional. These events are not parties. These events are not let's get wasted 24/7. These events are kind of both professional side, let's make business, let's do deals, let's find some partnership, new people and things like that, and then later on have fun as well. So at least how I see it. Maximizing event time. Okay, this is something I suck at, and this kind of is really bad on my end. But planning your route, knowing what to skip, what to attend, what speakers do you want to listen to, with what people you want to attend, what booths are interesting to you, with what teams do you want to chat, on what side events do you want to go, and kind of all of that is really important. And what I mean by that, there is so many side events, people, teams, booths, opportunities, speakers, panels happening simultaneously. And planning your route where you say, okay, I'm going to be here for an hour, then 2 hours there, then 2 hours there, 2 hours there, keeps you focused and on track with your goals that you might have set for this specific event. So you're not wasting time on some random things. You are not going home and sleeping for 5 hours and then saying, I'm going to come back. Events like these are quite short. Luckily, Breakpoint now is 3 days. It was 2 days. So if you're there, like, maximize the time to every extent that you can. Try to go on as many side events, panels, and things where it's actually worth being there. If you just sit around and drink coffee all day there and waiting for someone to approach you, or go to the hotel because you feel tired, then not the best way to experience the event and utilize it to its full potential. You can always sleep when you come back home. I think for a few days you will endure as you have previously, for sure. Key point: events are short, and having a plan stops you from wasting time. I think that's quite straightforward and that nobody can argue with this. If you have a different plan that goes against this, do let me know. I really want to hear it, since I want to use it then as well. Using Telegram properly. Okay, that's kind of one of those tricks that I was saying where it shows that you are in the industry for quite some time. So Telegram is Web3 business card, and everyone in Web3 uses Telegram, so you should as well. And if you've covered the previous workshops, once again, having a clear name, good profile picture, good description on who you are, what you do, and having an easy handle to remember helps you connect much, much faster. So that's something you should definitely do. But what's also quite interesting on Telegram is the QR code to scan things and to allow people to connect with you much, much faster. Meaning that, for example, let me show that on my phone, what I have for these events, and feel free to steal this trick from me, is I have it, let me just turn off the notifications. I have it as a background here on my phone, as you can see. I made a background on my phone, which is a QR code of my Telegram account, and if someone scans it with their phone, they will immediately be able to DM me. It saves me a lot of time of unlocking. Then if, maybe I need to type in the password, maybe it's bugged or whatever. This way, I just unlock it and say, hey, scan it and shoot me a message. Saves a lot of time, makes things a lot easier for both parties, and shows that additional extra step of thinking I came prepared to the event. So that way, you have a bit of an advantage compared to others. Everything else, I think we've went through the previous workshops, so we're not going to go into the depth of how to use Telegram. Key point: Telegram is your real business card in Web3. So set it up right. The picture trick. Okay, that's where you already are showing that you are a part of this industry for quite some time. And what does that mean? So the picture trick is actually quite simple. When you're chatting with someone and connecting with someone over Telegram, WhatsApp, Twitter, or whatever it is, it's quite good to actually capture a picture with them with your phone and say, hey, can we take a picture? So like I can save it and remember this conversation. And 99% of people at the event will be like, yes, 100%, let's do this, send it. And once you take the picture, you send it to a DM to that individual, right? You type in your name and maybe where you're from, the company that you do for, or whatever. And that way, a person has your face connected to your handle. And later on, when you start a conversation with them, they can always remember, I met that individual at Breakpoint, or whatever the event it was. These are like all some small and cool tricks that you should definitely try to remember and use. With this trick, the follow-up also becomes much easier, especially if you've left a good first impression. And then, like, maybe people don't know Maki, but when they see a picture and see that I'm the 2-meter tall guy, then they'll be like, oh, that's the tall guy, right? Because they saw the picture. And that's kind of it. And that's how they will remember me, hopefully, for just the picture of we took in a couple of seconds, right? So that's really cool trick, and definitely use it. Okay. Key point: a simple photo shared after meeting someone helps them remember you instantly, which is, I think, quite logical. Re-engaging after the event. Okay, this topic we have touched a lot, and that goes into kind of Web3 comms, which is one of the workshops in the beginning, I think like number 3, and then we had with Miro the BD one as well, which covers the communications. But the contacts that you have chatted through the Breakpoint and stored their names and their handles in your Telegram or wherever the chatter is, it's really cool to re-engage with them a couple of days later. Not immediately after, since everyone's kind of almost dead the next day, kind of broken down from the event. So giving them a few days to recover and then reigniting the conversation and that spark is really, really cool. Referencing on the conversation that you had with that individual. Hey man, I really enjoyed our talk about, I don't know, about Barcelona. That's it. Like, really enjoyed it. Was super happy that we have met. Hopefully, we'll see each other again in the future. And that's it. Or perhaps you've chatted about a partnership or a job offer or something. And then again, hey man, we really enjoyed our chat at Breakpoint. Hope you're doing well, that you have recovered. Wanted to reach out as discussed if there is a potential of a collaboration or a job offer or whatever you have chatted about. That way, you at least kind of reconnected again. You'll get definitely a reply. It will take a bit of time, of course, as well for them to reply to you. So don't ping them 5 times in 2 days. But that's a really cool way of establishing that connection and kind of fortifying it if it was a good click at the event. Keeping messages short and clean. Yes, no, don't go immediately into the sales pitch. Don't go, hey, buy this, test my product. Hey, can you give me a job, role, whatever. No, don't do that. Keep it simple and clean in the beginning. Establish a connection, then kind of see how you can provide value to that company or that individual, and then kind of ask what you want to ask. And that's kind of on re-engaging the conversations, but not to go into the depth of this topic. There are more workshops before this one. I would say workshop number 3 and workshop number 6 are the ones that we have chatted about on Web3 comms. So why it works, people come down after the event and check messages. They all gonna go over all of the messages, since they haven't been doing that for the last couple of days, since the event is kind of quite a place where you're not really on your phone, right? Reminder helps them connect your face to your name. You show that you're a professional once again, and you keep the relationship alive without being pushy. And later on, you can always reignite the conversation by asking, hey man, are you going to this event perhaps? Hope to see you there, and so on and so on. So you always have that door opener and starter message with individuals that you have met. Key point: following up the right way turns a quick chat into a real connection. And this is how I met some of the coolest dudes and people in the space. Creating opportunities after. So, as I was saying, like positioning yourself clearly and kind of letting people know what you do without kind of bragging or being kind of pushy on it really, really helps you in making the most out of potential opportunities that would come out from the event and from the people at the event. Don't follow up 100 times because someone said, hey, I'll give you a role, for example, and he perhaps said that just to cut the conversation short, and then they'll ghost you later on. And then if you ping them 10 times after the event, maybe they've changed their mind. Maybe they decided it's a bad decision. They just don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you that they lied or whatever. So don't be pushy and send 100 messages. Why it works is clarity beats begging for opportunities. People don't guess what you do. You need to tell them. Value first mindset is for long-term trust and kind of connection, and consistency makes them remember you. And as I said, quite straightforward. Key point: you get opportunities when people clearly understand who you are and what you do. What does that also mean? To touch it is they know what your value is. If you don't know what your value is or how you can provide value, then how would you expect someone else to recognize that in you? So you need to know what your strength is, what's your go-to skill that we have discussed on one of our previous workshops, another advertisement, right? But yeah, jokes aside, these workshops really do stack one on top of another. So if you're unsure, do go watch them. You still have time before these events if you're planning on going to Breakpoint or following up with it. And yeah, facts. Mistakes. this is something we kind of already touched. The first one, getting drunk. I wouldn't say getting drunk, kind of to kind of a bit correct myself. I got drunk as well on events. Getting wasted is the frame of that, like having a few drinks casual and relaxing yourself after like an evening at a party, completely fine. Getting wasted where you don't know who you are, where you're at, and definitely in this case in Abu Dhabi, in getting arrested, not really the way you want to do things in the space, and leave that bad taste to everyone there and involved in the event, right? Oversharing, also one of the mistakes people do. Kind of, is that information really relevant to someone that you're chatting with? Do they actually need to know in the first couple of minutes when they've met you what's your dog's name and where you go for a walk, and I don't know what your favorite ice cream is? Not really, right? So keep that in mind. Maybe not overshare things, because it becomes either annoying or not relevant for the conversation and the event, and then people will cut it short. Talking too much, the mistake that I have and the mistake that I do, I'll honestly admit that. Doing better, trying to be better in that, but definitely something that should be avoided and is one of the bigger mistakes, since conversations are two-way streets, meaning that you want to hear what someone else has to say and then share your opinion and say something, but maybe not cut someone when they're speaking, maybe not allow them to say anything, and things like that will kind of make you leave a bad impression. And not reading social cues or clues, or however you want to call them, is if you see that someone's kind of looking away all the time, that like they have to leave or whatever, saying, hey, if you need to go, completely fine, like we'll catch up on later. I see that you're kind of in a bit of a rush or whatever. Kind of let them go. Don't lock them in a basement and try to milk as much as you can from the conversation or the individual. So avoid these mistakes. Quite simple, but a lot of people forget. I forget. So, and I'm gonna say it as well. Be realistic. Not all of these things you are able to do unless you practice. But if you do only one of the things that we have covered here in this workshop, it will definitely make you stand out, and it will definitely make you feel much, much better after the event. Since you want to come home after the event and say, I did great at that event. That's what you want to achieve. Key point: avoiding a few common mistakes protects your reputation and future opportunities. Mindset for success at events. And kind of, I think we are at the almost, okay, a few more slides. Yep. What is it? Like curiosity over expectations. Be curious, chat with people, explore things. Don't like do, this is the only thing I want to do, this is the only thing I want to get out of this event, and if you go like that and you don't get it, then you'll be disappointed. So be curious, explore things, and but still kind of with the goal that you're trying to achieve. But even if you don't achieve the goal, look at it from a point where you can say, I did the best and I'm quite happy with the event and how I approached it and how I acted on it and the people I've met. Even though an opportunity didn't come your way, doesn't mean it won't later on. People first approach, meaning, as I said, like respect people, connect with people, and yeah, not gonna repeat myself again. Not forcing anything. If you see that the conversation is not gonna happen, if you see that it's not possible, that people are trying to kind of distance themselves from the conversation, yourself, opportunity, collab, or whatever, don't force it. Like it's much nicer to kind of admit it. Unless you're a salesperson, then kind of it's your job, right? But even for salespeople in Web3, it becomes a bit overwhelming. And if something's not interested or the right time and the right place, it's just not. And expecting that people that are on the event will spend a couple of hours with you in a day so you can pitch them your best product ever in the world or whatever is just delusional. And I will say it, and whoever gets offended, I'll still say it. Like, people are there to connect with people, not to hear your pitch. The pitch is a minute, and then if there is a possibility, it will happen after the event. Or if it was the best pitch in the world out there, then they'll say, hey, let's grab a lunch together or sit for a couple of hours so I can hear properly about it. But expecting them to sit down immediately because you think you're the best is just a way to break the relationship and break the conversation. And yeah. And and events are a long-term investment, meaning that something might not come out immediately, and at the first event that you went on, nothing came out of it. But on the next event, especially in this space, you will meet people that you have met on a previous event, and so on and so on. And that way, conversations will build up and opportunities will start flooding your gate. Oh, okay. People connect better with you when you stay curious, calm, and genuine. And being genuine and true to yourself without like pretending or acting is really, really good if you're able to, as I said, control your emotions and act professional. Over time, people will kind of spot if you have been lying about certain things, or especially if you've lied about, for example, your experience or something of a sort. It's quite easy to check these things out later on. And if you weren't true to yourself, they will just kind of block you and remember you that you kind of mess things up, or that kind of attach you to a scammer or something of sort, which you don't want to do. How to stand out. These are like some super small tricks. Again, clean outfit. I mean, that's like, yes, clean outfit, merch from different events, from previous breakpoints, really, really works well, especially if it's lit merch, like Solflare merch from last year on Breakpoint. If you come up in that merch at Breakpoint, for example, this year, and I spot you, I'm going to be like, yo, you've been on last Breakpoint, where'd you get that shirt or something of sort? So that's what I mean by clean outfit. It does work, and it does kind of matter a bit. It helps in certain situations. Calm energy, yes, straightforward. Good questions. Have a few questions ready. Think about it. What questions would you like to ask the founders? What's an interesting question that you would like to kind of break the ice with, and things like that. Remembering details, said, quite important. Remembering names, more important as well. Respectful presence. Like, all of these things, I would say, for the Guardians that have been with us, are already a well-known thing. And the things that we have went through, key point is being simple, respectful, and confident naturally makes you memorable. It just does. Being overwhelming for people is, in certain cases, good, but you need to recognize the situation. And if you are unable to recognize a situation where you can kind of stand out a bit more, then I would rather say play it safe, unless you are ready to accept the risk of it backfiring and then leading up to nothing. So yeah, this is actually quite a good tip for myself as well. That's kind of it. This is kind of on the thank you note. But what I wanted to say regarding this workshop is that, once again, all of the workshops stack one on top of another. They are like puzzle pieces. Later on, you'll see the full picture as well. So this is just one of the things for the events that I have experienced from a personal end. A lot of my friends have experienced this. So certain things, as I said, I do need to improve on. Certain things I might have exaggerated. Like, I have exaggerated for sure certain things, but just to prove my point doesn't mean that they are written in stone and that's how everyone thinks or that's how things work. So I'm just like going overall, and let's call it a generic approach to the event where you can gain the most with minimum amount of risk. And that's how I will conclude this workshop. Hopefully you'll enjoyed it, and see you then in the Q&A section.